Corporate social responsibility and the stakeholder theory. Part 1. What is it corporate social responsibility? What does it mean for businesses to have social responsibilities? And to whom do these responsibilities belong to or benefit? These are the questions that surround corporate social responsibility. Companies have always been constructed around making money, but today, in an era of globalization, social welfare comes into play, where corporations play a fundamental role in an interconnected world and must recognize the importance of balancing a goal of long-term corporate interests and society's health. Issues of sustainability, corporate ethics, and corporate social responsibility raise questions of justice for current and future generations. How business practices impact their external environment to create a good and better society reflects this issue of CSR. Companies polluting or using sweatshops or unhealthy products violates elements of justice and fairness, in which they aren't effective or valuable to the firm long term. All institutions evolve in and with society, and therefore it's crucial to value the external environment for business success. So how can corporations develop moral business practices? In the past, donations and risk management have been a form of CSR, but this is not sustainable change. Therefore, there needs to be a systematic change in how they make profits, not how they spend them, and recognizing the importance of making profit through benefiting the world and society as a whole. There are two known approaches of CSR. One is sustainability, and the other is the stakeholder theory. Sustainability is when, if a company helps society through their business as a main goal, then they'll reap the success in return. So essentially equating human intent with corporate intent. Peter A. French introduces the corporate moral agency by saying that by valuing stakeholders, they form responsibility relationships that form social contracts, and this is included in a structure that lays out the relationships and the rules of the game so that everything is in order, and that this logical framework for corporations parallels society. Today's modern corporation encompasses a number of external organization affiliates in which all play a role, and valuing each one incorporates CSR by balancing internal and external stakeholders. Essentially, this is what makes the stakeholder theory. For whose benefit and whose expense should corporations be managed? This is the question R. Edward Freeman states, and says that corporations have an ethical obligation to appease all stakeholders. However, the law and economic forces constrain managerial capitalism, in which are essential to regulating corporate power and exercising control over stockholder interests that conflict with other stakeholders negatively. So employees want to have good, secure jobs. Management wants happy employees. Customers want quality service. Community wants to reap benefits of the corporation. Suppliers want businesses to remain in good faith, and owners want financial returns. Valuing all these stakeholders' interests within social responsibility contracts is what transforms the purpose of the corporation. Using Kantian ethics, what we consider necessary for ourselves often indicates what principles we can rationally universe, makes the universal law of nature, illustrating the notion that placing equal value amongst all stakeholders as natural and rationalized form of creating value for the firm itself, essentially CSR. Milton Friedman, a famous economist, opposes the doctrine of social responsibility in saying that it incorporates a social objective and therefore undermines the free enterprise society that America is based. It's a socialist view. Within the nature of corporations in acquiring gold, it will benefit society as a whole naturally. But if corporations act out in nature through having a social objective or purpose, then they're acting as a public employee, which requires a political principle and undermines the market mechanism. And therefore, Freeman is stating that the social objective need not to be as a design of the corporation, as it's an undermining component to the construction of capitalism and America based on a political mechanism, not a market one. So what does this mean? What have we learned about corporate social responsibility? Good business practices bring good positive social outcomes, and this must be integrated within the integrity of employees and within the organizational structure, solidifying individual institutional ethics. Because politics are bound, corporations play a huge role in regulation on a global scale, and therefore CSR can be an effective way of creating a good society through good relationships, through the stakeholder theory, in which will create a just and fair society.
Created using Powtoon.